Welcome to Knicks Home Court with your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. This is episode number 72. How's everybody feeling today? I'm feeling great. The Knicks beat the Clippers last night. And I just got to say, before I get into the Knicks, I got to say the Clippers are a mess. You see, sometimes you get what you wish for. They always like, we don't like Chris Paul anymore. We don't want Chris Paul. He's such a general and he's so hard on the team. And the truth is, he made that team go. He wasn't the engine. He was the key to the ignition. and if you look at it, I mean, Blake is still a star somewhat. And honestly, Blake Griffin got some attitude problems. Blake Griffin got to be really careful before he becomes Dwight Howard, where nobody likes him. We already know he messed his hand up for punching some guy in the face, some little guy, and you see him act like a jerk when things are not going his way. By the way, I just noticed that at the end of the game, he just acted like a jerk at the end of the game. But anyway, DeAndre Jordan. I mean, I know Dallas Mavericks are so glad they didn't sign him now. He's trash. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a good player, but I'm talking about without, he needs that piece. He needs that Chris Paul. Chris Paul literally made him. He owes Chris Paul a check, seriously. And Chris Paul put him in his commercials. But yet and still, they couldn't handle Chris Paul and his serious demeanor and driving determination to win. I mean, really. And see, sometimes this is what I want to say is when you break up a team just because they haven't won a championship is not a smart thing to do. You let Chris Paul go. I know Chris Paul kind of wanted to leave, but you could have made him stay. You could have talked to him and had him stay. Because to me, yeah, the Clippers, every year the Clippers were decent and every year they had an injury or injuries. But when you're a good team, sometimes just continue being good and you never know what can happen. Injuries happen. If I could think back to when the Knicks, when the Bulls were running things, and you had the Knicks and the Pacers, the other two teams, and Miami Heat eventually, that was trying to contend. Now, Indiana, at times, couldn't even get past the Knicks. Should they have broke it up? So, we can't never win. Because they was trying to win for a long time. We can't win. We can't even beat the Knicks to get to the Bulls. No. You just keep on playing. Because sure enough, they end up getting to the finals. Yeah, I think Jordan was retired at the time, but still, you keep your team together. You never know what's going to happen. What if the Knicks would have blew up their team? We can't get back by the Bulls. We should blow it up. And then what happened? Jordan retired. Nobody expected that. Knicks got to the finals. That's why I don't believe in breaking up good teams. You see the Raptors? They probably never going to win a championship. They might get to the Eastern Conference Finals again, maybe. But why break that up? Because building a team, I'm telling you folks, there are teams that have been losing for 15 years straight. Unless you have a good organization in place, building a team is one of the hardest things. And people always talk about getting in the lottery. It's more than the lottery, folks. And I will get to that later in the podcast. And also, I think Doc Rivers is going to get fired. If they keep losing like this, he's not going to last even to the All-Star break. As good a coach he is, sometimes even a good coach, the players just can't hear you no more. It's like, when you're a kid, you're growing up with your parents, you're listening to everything your parents say. By the time you're teenagers and you're almost an adult, you really don't want to hear that shit no more. I hate to say it, and that's why kids, when they grow up and become adults, they move out. Well, when it comes to coaches, it's very different. That's why sometimes coaches will trade players, because eventually the message gets stale. That's why Greg Popovich is the best coach that I've ever seen. Even better than Phil Jackson to a certain degree because of his longevity and how he's able to reinvent himself and his message, and his players don't get tired of him. Because I think Doc Rivers, I don't know, man. I don't know if they listen anymore. 9 straight losses. But I always knew that DeAndre Jordan was a Chris Paul creation, and the rest of the team. And then remember, they lost J.J. Redick too. And then they got Gallinari. Remember Gallinari, one of the guys that the Knicks used to trade to get Melo, and everybody was saying the Knicks gave up too much. Who Mr. Always Hurt Gallinari? Yeah, talented but always hurt Gallinari. Anyway, I digress. Let me talk about the Knicks. The Knicks played it was really, I'm watching the game yesterday. I'm like, this is ugly. I said, look, if this game continues down this path, I don't even think I'm going to do a podcast because this is just, what's there to talk about? Both of these teams look bad. Well, the Knicks woke up somehow. You know what I think? I think they both hung out Sunday night. See, basketball players keep a different schedule than the rest of us. They don't, they work at night. They probably didn't have any practice. I think they hung out Sunday. I think both teams partied, went to strip club or something, because the first half, at least the first quarter, was just terrible. And honestly, I think the Clippers just never, what I'm not liking, what I'm seeing from the Clippers is looking like a team that just not really interested, like a team that realizes they're not that good, and I don't see any fight in them, and that's a problem. Anyway, so the Knicks finally started getting their stuff together in the second quarter, started realizing, hey, we're at home, we need any victory we can get. If they're going to give it to us, we might as well take it, Kristaps, he had a decent game. He had 25 points. And sometimes, see, I feel like what's happening to Kristaps right now is he's trying to make adjustments. My God. I'm sorry. I was trying to look at the stats and my internet got stuck. But he's trying to make adjustments to how teams are playing him. And one thing I keep telling you, anytime Kristaps try to put it on the floor, and it just, like, first of all, he needs to have the awareness. If you're going to put it on the floor against another big man, that's fine. But you can't really do it on the elbow because there's other defenders there. And what you're seeing is Kristaps trying to force the issue. And he's going to have to fight through it and learn how to allow the game to come to him. Because the reason, I don't think he has a shooting slump. I think the problem is his shot selection. His shot selection recently has gotten bad. And that's because the things that he likes to do, teams have been trying to take that away from him. And when you take away his first option, he's trying to, show that, look, I'm a really good player. I can go to other options and things like that. And, I get it, but it's not really working. And, that's where a point guard comes in. And I think by next year, I have a feeling next offseason, Kristaps is going to work on his handle. But again, he's a 7'3" guy. We don't need a handle. 1 or 2 dribbles, shoot. We don't need you over here trying to do crossovers and shit. His crossover is probably 8 foot long and shit. And the guards are just stealing it. And that's just going to keep happening, at least this year. Now, he had 25 points, 7 rebounds. And I think Hardaway played a good game. I thought he wasn't going to play. I was glad to see him. He had 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Again, Hardaway is legitimately becoming or has become a winning player. When you see a player do the things that Hardaway's doing, I'm very impressed. I'm impressed with the fact that Hardaway he still takes some poor threes. And at this point, I don't even think he's a three-point shooter. That's how bad he's been shooting. He can hit them. But it's like, oh, he hit a shot. Driving to the hoop is his thing. When he got a three-point shot going, he's really hard to stop. I got to admit that. But he's playing the incomplete game. Another guy who you got to give props to, Cantor. Cantor has 12 points and 16 rebounds. Double-double machine. He's playing well. He's playing hard. He's a plus. He got the attitude that you need. Oh, wow. And I didn't realize his plus minus was 21. Wow. The whole team had a good plus minus. So, again, the narratives, the people with the narratives, the Knicks should have gotten more. And Doug McDermott went for 16 points. He was unstoppable from 3. Why did we sign Jarrett Jack? People were saying sit him on the bench. Jarrett Jack had 11.7 assists, played a very good game, scored when we needed him to. And let me tell you something about Jarrett Jack. Yo, that mid-range shot is cash. Yo, every time he shoots from the mid-range, I know it's going in. It's crazy. He just doesn't shoot as much as he used to. But I've never seen a guy, like when he gets around that free throw area, I don't think I've seen him really miss. I'm sure I wish I can, somebody probably can analyze it. He's probably shooting about, I don't know, 70% from that area. I mean, he's really good from that area, you know. But it was a team victory. Again, for the Knicks to be good, for the Knicks to make the playoffs, and the Knicks to just become an overall good team, they need contributions from everyone. They need to play a team game. Actually, all teams should play a team game, but the Knicks really need to play a team game to win. All hands on deck, and that's what makes you strong. You know, everybody needs to pitch in, play defense together. Everybody needs to play offense together. I saw the ball moving. And, you know, I realized when the Knicks have consecutive games, and this happens to a lot of teams, especially not veteran teams, but when they have a lot of consecutive games, what you're going to notice is the ball movement and some of it starts to go down a little bit, because you know why? Is that they don't have practices. When you have a game every other day, you don't have a chance to practice. Like, I don't think the Knicks practice today. I don't think they're going to practice today. They might do a walkthrough maybe, but they can't get after it and do a practice. But when they have 2 days off, they could do a practice, you know. And I notice after 2 or 3 days off, they always come back, of course, fresh. And then you see the ball movement that we all come to love. But when they have them games, they got to basically go off memory and what the coach is telling them. They don't have that practice to run through it. And when young players, you know, and then also remember, this team is still developing chemistry, which is amazing to see that they're playing. They're 9-7, and they're still developing chemistry. They still are. You know, Frank Ntilikina didn't have a good game today, last night. And you know what? He had to sit down for it. This is why I don't want Frank to start yet. He's not ready to start yet. And you know what? Sitting him down, I don't really call it a benching. The Knicks had a big lead. Hey, sit down. Did not come to find out he wasn't feeling well. There's no problem with Frank. I just like the fact when you have a rookie point guard, it's a hard position to learn. You don't just throw him to the fire. You could, but there's no need to do that. The Knicks are trying to win. Your guy over there, most of your guy, Dennis Smith, yeah, he's playing okay. I mean, he's shooting, his percentages are horrendous, but most young guards, their shooting percentages aren't going to be great because of their shot selection. However, that team is what, 2-15 or some shit? How is that a good environment for him? And speaking of that, I want to talk to all of the people who love tanking. And I've discussed this before, but again, I got to say it, you know, because I notice I've gotten an increase in subscriptions and listenings, which I'm very happy. Thank you. And I'm 1,000% against tanking. I've always, there's tanking and there's trying to grow, but you're still losing games, but you're trying to become a good team. There's a difference. I think the Boston Celtics probably laid the blueprint on how do you become a good team in the NBA. See, everybody's looking at them now and saying, wow, look how good they are. But I remember after what's his name, Garnett and Pierce and Allen left, they didn't just go into tank mode. And they had a bunch of picks, but they didn't just go into tank mode. They signed Isaiah Thomas. I remember when they signed Al Horford, I was like, what are you doing? Y'all not even ready. Good move. They signed Al Horford, good guy, tough guy. They got Jay Crowder. They got a young coach that preaches team. They had Avery Bradley already, good defender. They just built their team by signing a lot of and picking up a lot of good defensive, hard-nosed players. And just good players in general. No stars. And Brad Stevens, what he did is he taught them, he got them playing team basketball. And then after you lay the foundation, which they did, then you start adding more talent to the team. And they can come right in and play exactly the way Stevens wants them to play. And there you have it, the Boston Celtics. Look at them now. As opposed to the 76ers, who definitely, Ben Simmons looks like he's going to be crazy. Embiid looks crazy. But guess what? They still got to learn how to win. Now they got to develop their culture. Now they got to find out that Brett Brown is actually the coach for them. So I feel like this, if you think about it, Boston got to watch this team grow. Philadelphia fans had to pay full price while that team lost for 3 years in a row. I just don't think that's a good formula. The end result might be all right, but sometimes the means don't always justify the ends. Not always. But anyway, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because I wanted to mention also Sacramento. Look at Sacramento right now. That team is quitting. I mean, I think they lost by like 45 points or something to the Atlanta Hawks, who was also rebuilding and tanking. My thing is, how is that good for De'Aaron Fox? How is that good for Buddy Hield? How is that good to have young players that you actually want to keep lose like this? What happens is when you lose games like this, or better yet, let me say it this way. I'm going to ask, well, I'm not speaking with anybody, this is rhetorical. If you ever work for a company that doesn't really care, you might come in caring, but after a while, you don't care either. You just collect your check. You're just doing what you got to do to get your check and go home. And for a basketball player, that's a bad environment. You're not doing the extra. You're not in the gym working hard trying to get better. If you are, you're doing it just for yourself, for your own payday. You're not thinking team. You're thinking these guys ain't going to be here. And that's just a bad environment to be in for a young player. Now, everybody's talking about Ben Simmons. I meant to get back to Philly real quick. Ben Simmons and Embiid. But look how many picks they wasted. Noel. They drafted Michael Carter-Williams. Remember, he was Rookie of the Year. They drafted Okafor. Just a whole bunch of hot trash. Now, I'm not saying Okafor's trash because I actually don't think he's trash. I think he needs a change of scenery. I don't think he's a star, but I think he's not as bad as they've made him look. But anyway, I digress. I want to talk about something because it's in the same vein. I got a nice comment. I'm looking for the comment now because I actually want to mention the person's name, but for some reason I can't find the name. Okay. Well, for some reason I'm sorry I can't find your name. You had mentioned that the Knicks lost the game. Knicks had lost the game to Toronto, and the person commenting said, I wasn't too upset with them losing because I kind of want them to lose so we can get a good pick, so we can get Porter or somebody like that, right? And you see, all the things I said prior to now, I want to put some proof to what I was saying, how tanking doesn't do anything. Tanking doesn't guarantee you anything. So I want to read up some names. These players were in the All-Star game last year. So I just want to run through it really quick and tell you where they got picked and everything. Okay, Paul George was an All-Star last year. He was the 10th pick. Kyle Kuzma, not an All-Star, but he's playing well for the Lakers this year. He's a 27th pick. Gordon Hayward, the 9th pick, All-Star. DeAndre Jordan, 2nd round, 5th pick in the 2nd round, All-Star. Marc Gasol, 2nd round, 18th pick, so he was the number 48th pick, All-Star. Draymond Green, the 35th pick, the 5th pick of the 2nd round, All-Star. Klay Thompson, 1st round pick, the 11th pick, All-Star. Kawhi Leonard, probably the best defensive player in the NBA, 1st round, 15th pick. Steph Curry, 2-time MVP, not top 5 pick, but the number 7th pick. Kemba Walker, another All-Star. He was the 1st round pick, the 9th pick. Paul Millsap, All-Star last year, 2nd round pick, the 47th overall pick. Kyle Lowry, All-Star, 1st round, the 24th pick. Isaiah Thomas, 2nd round, the 30th pick of the 2nd round. He was the 60th pick of the draft. He damn near was almost the last person drafted. All-Star, averaged 28 points. The Greek Freak Giannis, 1st round, 15th pick. Jimmy Butler, another star. He's with Minnesota now. First round pick, the 30th pick. DeMar DeRozan, the 9th pick. So those were all all-stars last year. You notice something. I didn't mention any top 5. Actually, the highest I went was 7 with Steph Curry. So what that says is it's all about your front office. It's all about your scouting. And honestly, I think that's one area that the Knicks have strong is their scouting. The last few years, we got Hernan Gomez, we got Kristaps, we got Damian Dotson, who I think is going to be a player. I think Frank Ntilikina is going to be a good player. We have good scouting. So if we pick from anywhere from 15 down, we still can get a really good player. We still can get a really, really, really good player. Another guy I wanted to mention was Mikal Bridges or Mikal Bridges. I'm probably saying his name. Not the one from Michigan State. He's a small forward. He's a really elite defender. He's probably not going to be a star in the NBA, but he's most likely going to be a really elite defender, and he plays the wing position, and he can shoot the 3. He can handle a little bit, but I wouldn't be mad if the Knicks drafted a guy like him because he's an elite wing defender. He's like 6'7", 6'8", and you plug and play. The reason why I like drafting players who are known as really great defensive players coming out of college, because those players, defense translates to the NBA. Like, you'll immediately be good in the NBA defensively. That's why you see Frank Ntilikina is ahead of all of the rookies. He's better than them defensively because that translates. Offense takes time, but defense definitely translates. And right now, the Knicks still need defense. They still need perimeter defense, and they got scoring. They got that scoring part down packed. They got Kristaps. They got Hardaway. They got Cantor to chip in with some points. They got McDermott to chip in with some points. So they got scoring. That's not their issue. So they need perimeter defense. So that's why I'm looking at some of those guys and things like that. But anyway, this has been Knicks Home Court, episode number 72. I am your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. And as soon as, I wanted to do an extra podcast because I had some topics I wanted to go over. And I will be doing that soon. And also, I got a message from, it's funny that I just closed that out. Nothing But Knicks. So I appreciate that you like my show and you said you would like to connect and do something together. I definitely would like to do that. I have to look at my schedule, see if I'm available December 9th. And that'd be cool to call in, We all Knick fanatics. That's why we do this. At least me, I'm not making any money for this. I'm just doing it because I love the Knicks and I hate the narratives out there. And basically, when you hear Knicks talk on the national news cycle, it's either to ridicule the Knicks, because they didn't talk about the Knicks. And then when the Knicks lost to Cleveland, all of a sudden I looked on these podcasts and it's like the king of New York, LeBron. That's the only time they mention the Knicks. It is cool. It's cool. I ain't mad because y'all created me. You know what I'm saying? Then when you listen to New York, they don't really analyze the game. I don't even think they know basketball. They just waiting for something drama. They want to talk about tweets and other bullshit. They want to talk about Cantor and LeBron tweeting and shit. I'm like, what does the fuck does that have to do with the game? What does that have to do with shooting percentage? What does that have to do with plus minus? What does that have to do with anything? Talk basketball, folks. People out here are hungry to hear what's going on in the game. What are they seeing? Explain it to them. Analyze it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck, man? When I get so bad, and there's a few podcasters that do a great job, and I listen to other Knicks podcasters. If they're gonna engage in real analysis and not gossip, I'm not for the gossip. It's just boring to me. It's just so much gossip everywhere. You want gossip? Fucking turn on reality TV or whatever. But anyway, rant over. Knicks Home Court, episode number 72. I'm your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. Peace.